What's going on, Dodger faithful? Look, I'm going to be completely honest with you right from the start. If you're not subscribed to this channel, you're missing out on the most detailed, most informed Dodgers coverage you're going to find anywhere. We don't do surface level takes here. We go deep. We connect the dots. We give you the analysis that actually matters. So do yourself a favor right now and hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications, because what we're about to discuss today is the kind of move that could define our entire season, and you need to be plugged in for every development as it happens. It's late November, and the baseball world is buzzing. While everyone is focused on the massive contracts being handed out to position players and starting pitchers, there's a story developing that has serious implications for how we're going to compete next year: the bullpen. Again, I know, we've been talking about this for months, but here's the thing. Until it's fixed, it's going to remain the dominant storyline surrounding this team. And based on what I'm hearing, based on the market dynamics, based on the chess moves happening right now behind closed doors, we might finally be getting the answer we've been desperately waiting for. Let's be brutally honest about last season. The Tanner Scott signing was a disaster. 4 years, $72 million, and what did we get? Inconsistency, frustration, a guy who couldn't deliver when it mattered most. We ended up scrambling in the playoffs, using Roki Sasaki in a role that was never supposed to be his long-term destiny. Sasaki has the talent to be a force in the rotation, but we were so desperate for reliable late-innings performance that we had to improvise. That's not championship baseball. That's patching holes and hoping it holds together. We cannot, absolutely cannot, go into another season with that kind of uncertainty hanging over the ninth inning. Here's where things get really interesting. According to some sharp analysis from people who have their fingers on the pulse of these negotiations, the Dodgers are seriously considering making a run at Robert Suarez. Yes, that Robert Suarez, the same guy who's been absolutely dominant for the Padres the last 2 seasons. All-star caliber arm, elite strikeout numbers, the kind of closer who makes that walk from the bullpen feel like a death sentence for opposing hitters. He opted out of his deal in San Diego, which means he's available, and all the signals point to Los Angeles being the most logical destination. Now I can already hear some of you screaming at your screens. Why would we spend big money on another closer after what happened with Scott? Haven't we learned our lesson? Here's the critical difference, and you need to understand this. Robert Suarez is not Tanner Scott. Suarez has been consistently elite for multiple seasons. He's proven he can handle the pressure of closing games in this division, in this pressure cooker environment where every single game feels like the playoffs. He knows the hitters, he knows the stadiums, he's done this at the highest level, and he's done it well. This isn't a projection or a gamble on potential. This is acquiring proven excellence. The projections floating around suggest we're looking at something like 3 years, $54 million. That breaks down to $18 million per year. Is that a lot? Absolutely. But let's talk about what you're actually getting for that investment. You're getting stability. You're getting a guy who can pitch the biggest games without flinching. You're getting someone who allows everyone else in the bullpen to settle into their proper roles instead of being stretched beyond their capabilities. And maybe most importantly, you're taking a premium weapon away from a division rival. The Padres lose their closer, and we gain one. That's a massive swing in competitive advantage right there. Some people are going to point to Edwin Diaz and say he's the better option, the bigger name, the guy with the longer track record. And look, Diaz is phenomenal. Nobody's denying that. But the reality is that Diaz is going to command more years and more money. He's going to require a commitment that could limit our flexibility in other areas. Suarez gives us elite performance at a slightly lower cost, both in dollars and in years committed. For a front office that prides itself on efficiency and smart resource allocation, this makes perfect sense. You get 90% of the production at 75% of the cost. That's the kind of value proposition that wins championships. Let's talk about the broader strategic picture here. Bringing in Suarez solves multiple problems simultaneously. First, obviously, it addresses the closer situation. We get a legitimate ninth inning guy who we can trust unconditionally. Second, it allows Roki Sasaki to transition back to the rotation or be used in a more flexible capacity without the overwhelming pressure of having to close every tight game. Sasaki's development as a starter is crucial for our long-term success, and this move would facilitate that perfectly. Third, and this can't be overstated, it sends a psychological message to the rest of the division. The Dodgers are not accepting mediocrity. We identified a weakness, and we're fixing it aggressively, even if it means spending serious money after a previous investment didn't pan out. The comparison to the Tanner Scott situation is inevitable, so let's address it head on. Yes, we got burned. Yes, it was expensive and embarrassing. But here's the thing about elite organizations. They don't let past failures paralyze them into inaction. They learn, they adjust, and they keep moving forward. The lesson from Scott isn't that we should never sign another closer. The lesson is that we need to be more discerning about who we target and what their track record actually shows. Suarez passes that test with flying colors. His metrics over the last 2 years have been elite across the board. Strikeout rate, ground ball rate, expected ERA, hard contact percentage, everything you want to see in a dominant reliever, he's delivering. There's also the intangible factor of what it means to pitch in San Diego versus pitching in Los Angeles. The Padres have been good, sometimes great, but they don't have the same championship expectations, the same media scrutiny, the same pressure that comes with wearing Dodger blue. Suarez has handled the West Coast pressure well, but LA is a different animal. However, guys who have all-star pedigree, who have closed big games and pennant races, those are the guys who typically thrive in this environment. He's not some unknown commodity who might crumble under the spotlight. He's already proven he belongs on the biggest stages. Think about what our bullpen could look like with Suarez at the back end. Suddenly, you've got defined roles. You've got certainty. You've got a structure that allows your setup guys to focus on the 7th and 8th without worrying about being asked to close. You've got depth that can withstand injuries or the occasional bad stretch without everything falling apart. That's the kind of bullpen that carries you deep into October. That's the kind of bullpen that wins championships. And frankly, after what we went through last year, that's the kind of bullpen we deserve as fans. The financial side of this is going to make some people uncomfortable, and I get it. $18 million per year is significant money, especially when we're already paying Tanner Scott. But let's be real about how this organization operates. The Dodgers have never been afraid to spend when it matters. We have the resources, we have the revenue streams, and most importantly, we have a championship window that's wide open right now. You don't let financial concerns prevent you from acquiring the pieces you need when you're this close to sustained dominance. The cost of not having an elite closer, both in wins and in fan sanity, is higher than $54 million over 3 years. Here's my bottom line, and I want you to really think about this before you react. Robert Suarez makes sense on every level: performance, cost, fit, timeline, competitive advantage. This is the kind of move that separates organizations that consistently compete for titles from organizations that fall short because they hesitated or overthought it. Andrew Friedman and this front office have earned our trust with their track record. If they're seriously pursuing Suarez, it's because the analytics support it, the scouting supports it, and the strategic vision supports it. And honestly, after watching what happened in the bullpen last year, I'm ready to trust them on this. So now I want to hear from you. Are you all in on bringing Robert Suarez to Los Angeles? Do you think $54 million over 3 years is the right investment after the Tanner Scott experience? Or would you rather see us go after Edwin Diaz or someone else entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's get a real conversation going, because this decision is going to have massive ripple effects for how next season plays out. Hit that like button if you're enjoying the deep dives, and seriously subscribe if you haven't already. This offseason is just heating up, and we've got so much more to break down. Until next time, Dodger Nation, let's go get that championship.